Hi everybody, welcome back to our next Lunch and Learn, and it's taken us here to Woodbridge. Boundaries, Steeles to the south, Major Mackenzie to the north, in between Highway 400 and about Highway 50. So once it was an independent village, the village of Woodbridge, and that was before it was amalgamated with the township of Vaughan in about 1971. Traditionally, the downtown core of Woodbridge is Woodbridge Avenue between Islington and Kipling, and that's just north of Highway 7. So here's how it started. In 1802, the British Crown, they granted plots of land to two gentlemen, Jacob Phillips and Hugh Cameron. And kind of what often happened, these lands were sold off and they built mills, flour mills, lumber mills, wool mills. And in this case, it was all along the Humber River and its tributaries, and small settlement pockets, they all built up around these mills. Brownsville was built up along John Brown's mill. Smithville, it was around Mr. Smithsville. Mr. Smith's mill. It's a tongue twister. And they later changed that name from Smithville to Pine Grove, so I don't know how they thought of Mr. Smith. Anyways, it really didn't become a village until Roland Burr arrived, and that was in 1837. And he purchased 100 acres of land, and he built a bunch of mills, and he laid out a proper plan for the village, and he called it Berwick. Now, we're standing here in front of a memorial. It is the Pioneer Burying Grounds, and what they did is that, I guess, through all the development, they dug up some of the cemeteries and they put all their old headstones into the wall here. There's not a lot of history left in Woodbridge, which is sad, but here we are. The village of Berwick, it was renamed in 1855 because when the town applied for a post office, there was already another Berwick in Ontario. So the story goes, a local resident, he suggested the name Woodbridge after his hometown in England and the obvious many wooden bridges in the area crossing the Humber River, which I'm standing in front of, which is beautiful. It can't be proven, but it sounds good. So by 1880, the settlement, it had 2 general stores, a carriage work, 2 churches, a school, 2 hotels, a library, 2 newspapers, and a post office. And by 1882, Woodbridge, it absorbed Pine Grove and Brownsville, and it had over 1,000 residents, and it was incorporated into a village. The construction of Highway 7 from Woodbridge to Thornhill, it took place between 1928 and 1932. And Highway 27 to the west, it was built in 1937 and 1938, somewhere in there. And Highway 400 to the east, it was completed in 1951. So, since much of Woodbridge is on the Humber River floodplain, I just want to talk quickly about Hurricane Hazel. Because in 1954, the Humber River swelled from its usual width and left hundreds of people homeless and 9 dead. And this included washing away mill dams, and there was major flooding in the Clarence Street area downtown, which is where we're standing right now. So post-Hazel, a number of initiatives were undertaken, and that included diverting and rerouting the Humber River. Land around parts of the Humber, it was acquired, and floodplain zones were established, and that was to prevent development in low-lying areas around the river that were basically prone to flooding. So starting in the 1950s, Woodbridge, it started to grow at a faster pace, which ultimately led to its defined area expanding far beyond the village boundaries. So many Italians who initially had roots in Toronto neighborhoods like Little Italy, they kind of meandered their way north through Corso Italia, up streets that we've all heard of, Caledonia, Keele, Jane, Weston, Islington. And this happened in the 60s and 70s, and they kind of settled in North Toronto. But by 1980, many ended up in and around Woodbridge. And by 2021, 53.5% of the residents of Woodbridge, they identified as Italian. Now, speaking of Italian, we're going to grab some Italian lunch at Ricci's. So we're here at Ricci's. Full disclosure, I've been here before. But we're in Woodbridge, and you're thinking, is this really the only Italian place you can think of? But look at the size of this panzerotti. I've had it. It's great. I ordered a veal sandwich. If you want this type of meal, this is the place to be. As mentioned, Woodbridge Avenue between Islington and Kipling, it's historically the downtown of Woodbridge. And it was once home to some great historical buildings from the late 19th century all the way to the 1960s. But it's rapidly being redeveloped. If you go down the street, you'll see buildings from that era boarded up, and they're going to be redeveloped. And it's kind of really disappointing to me that Woodbridge doesn't seem to respect any of its older architecture. Many of the older shops, they're demolished in the 70s and 80s, and Market Lane shopping development was built. It's right here behind me, and it remains a commercial hub of the area with several other shops and stores lining Woodbridge Avenue. Woodbridge, it also contains many industrial developments as well. There's a big chunk, it's bounded by Steeles, Pine Valley, Highway 7, and the 400, There's that pocket, and much of that was built in the 1980s. And there's an even bigger chunk on the western boundary of Woodbridge, running between the 407 to Major Mac, on either side of the 427 between Highway 27 and 50. And that started in the 90s, and it continues today. If you haven't got the point by now, Woodbridge is pretty green, although I guess it's becoming less so with all the development. When people think of Woodbridge, I guess they think of all these tract homes that are close together, and there's lots of that, but I wanted to show off the real beautiful part of Woodbridge. If you look at the map, you'll see there's this green strip of land. It basically runs down the middle. The Courtright Center at the very top, it's about 325 hectares of pristine woodland. The Boyd Conservation Park, another 400 hectares of picnic areas and hiking. There's the National Golf Club, which is one of the top-ranked courses in Canada you can't just get onto, but it makes the place green. Now, there also was another golf course. It was called the Country Club, or you may know it as the Board of Trade, and that was another 117 hectares. But that was bought out by developers, it was closed, and it's going to be redeveloped. Originally, there were 475 detached homes that were scheduled, 124 townhouses, and 616 condos. That was what the proposal was. But the developer and the community, they're still fighting, and I don't know what the outcome is yet. All in all, Woodbridge really is a desirable place to live. It has family-friendly amenities. There's convenient access to both the city and the surrounding natural areas. It's known for tree-lined streets, a strong sense of community, and if you look around, a lot of pride of ownership in their properties. Around 2/3 of the homes in Woodbridge, they're single detached homes. And for pricing, and I'm just going to talk about this year. Detached, they started around $1 million, a little bit more. The most expensive I saw so far was about $2.8 million. Now I've seen estate homes, they'll sell anywhere between $5 and $10 million, and occasionally more. But the majority are 1.3 to 1.7. Semis, they're the smallest piece of the pie because there's more row houses than there are semis. But you're looking at 900 to about 1.3. Row houses, 800 to mid 1.2. So I've seen a few 1.3 and 1.4 sales. And there's condos, and there's a lot of them now. One bedrooms, 500 to 600,000. 1+1s, 5 to 750. Two bedrooms, and size does matter with this. I've seen the smaller ones for mid 500s to 900 maybe, but the majority are about 7 to mid 8s. And 3-bedroom towns, mid 8s to about 1.1 million. Anyhow, I love doing these videos. Like, share, and we'll talk soon.